From Fox Business. This is, I'm kidding. This is actually a white pill. Robby Starbuck says it's too late for Meta to apologize after AI chatbot allegedly defamed him. Fox, it is not alleged. Facebook has apologized for it, and Meta AI admits that it did it. If you pull up Meta AI, it says, yes, Meta AI accused Robby Starbuck of, here's the story. About 9 months ago, Robby Starbuck, who's a conservative personality, ran for office. He's an activist, a speaker, a public figure. Someone posted an image. I could be getting the story, but I believe it's this. Posted an image of Meta AI saying that he was arrested on January 6th and imprisoned, pleading guilty. That is fake news. Robby's like, I was not even in D.C. I live in Nashville. I wasn't there. That is defamation per se to accuse someone of a crime. Robby says he reached out to Facebook saying, or Meta, the parent company, hey guys, fix this and issue a retraction and an apology because people are starting to target me believing it's real. Facebook did nothing. Over the next 9 months, Robby says it got worse. More fake images started to appear from Meta, more images from Meta AI making fake statements about Robby is what I mean to say, saying that it even got extreme to the point where it said his children should be taken from him because he's a convicted criminal and insurrectionist and all these things. This is where things get really crazy. There's so much to break down in how revolutionary this story is going to be. So Joel Kaplan, I think, I thought I had the tweet pulled up here. It's somewhere. Do I have it right here? Yes. Joel Kaplan from Facebook says, Robby, I watched your video. This is unacceptable. This is clearly not how our AI should operate. We're sorry for the results it shared about you and that the fix we put in place didn't address the underlying problem. I'm working now with our product team to understand how this happened and explore potential solutions. This is one of the craziest political stories I've ever seen, and it is going to change the game for all of us. Let me break this down. Facebook has admitted fault. Joel Kaplan is not some random guy. He's Chief Global Affairs Officer at Meta. This is a top officer level position at Meta saying, we're sorry, our program did this. Admission of guilt and fault. They created a product that defamed Robby Starbuck. It's defamation per se. He's suing for excess of $5 million in damages. He's also asking for punitive damage as to be determined. I'm assuming this actually, this next part, because he didn't talk about it. But the presumption is in the lawsuit, jury will determine punitive damages to be awarded, which estimates could be 1% to 3% of the value of the company or upwards of 9% depending on which state you're in. That's what Robby told me. Meaning he might make himself a billionaire over this lawsuit.
Good for him.
The crazy thing about it is that Facebook admitted they defamed him. I've never seen a defamation case where the defaming accused party says, yes, we did this before it went to court. They've thrown out the window any opportunity for dismissal, which means they will go to discovery. This is where it goes. I'm assuming this because who knows what a judge says. But based on their admission of guilt, this should get past any motion to dismiss, which I doubt would happen. It's not going to be settled because now Robby, with their admission of guilt, can go straight to a jury awarding punitive damages. If they get discovery, they can look at the training models for Meta's AI and the algorithm to determine why it was lying about him. It may turn out that an individual intentionally injected fake information into the AI. Here's where I think it gets really interesting. This means, and it's not just about this lawsuit. For the longest time, the corporate press has been lying about people like me, lying about people like James O'Keefe. I use him as a great example because his Wikipedia is a crazy lie. And they say you can't sue them because they have Section 230 protections. Well, hold on now. Unfortunately for these artificial intelligences, they have absorbed all of the lies from the corporate press and presume it all to be true, which means if you go to ChatGPT or Grok or Meta AI and you ask it, tell me about James O'Keefe, and it pulls in that false information, that company has now defamed you. Outright, the product did. That's where it gets interesting because Wikipedia, you can't sue. A third party posted it. Twitter, can't sue Twitter. Some random guy tweeted that. But that tweet was absorbed into Grok. And now if Grok lies about you, yes, you can now sue Twitter. So I think we are going to see something massive here, unless, of course, you get a corrupt judge. But with all that being said, the next big question, seeing as AI is now in the space, another story to throw in is that recently a Tesla was driving down the street, full self-driving, when a man tripped into the road. The Tesla then immediately veered left and slammed into another car. Did you see this one?
No, I didn't.
And this is the moment we've all been waiting for in AI. The question was, who does the car choose to save? The pedestrian in the street or the driver of the vehicle? In this instance, the vehicle chose to crash into another car, potentially killing both the driver of each vehicle because one man fell on the road. AI is changing everything in terms of fault with cases like this. So again, all that being put out there, I know it might be a bit of a hard segue, but I'm wondering, Rudyard, what you see with all your predictions and what you've studied in history, how AI will play a role in this.
So it's funny you say that because I draw my lines in fields I don't study. I'm not very good at AI. I have lots of friends who are vastly better at tech than me. So I try to have a degree of humility about that. But the thing with AI that's, long story short, I don't think AI is capable of developing its own consciousness. It would take me too long to explain why. But then secondarily, the biggest worry with AI is they basically get rid of all the pre-established jobs where most human activities are not that difficult, then AI can replace them. And there's been zero examination among the ruling class for what it's going to mean if, I don't know, like a quarter of people's jobs go away, because people are already using AI to automate humans out. It's scary.
So I think we do have a correction. I don't know for sure, but right now the updated post is saying that actually it was the female driver took control and hit the car to dodge the man who fell in the street. So that may be the case.
We're still morally superior to the robots. Please.
It seems like a better option to, considering the safety record of Teslas, because they are one of the safest cars on the road, it does seem like the better option for the car to say, okay, we're going at this speed, whatever. It wasn't traveling at a high rate of speed, and it's more likely that the person in the car will survive than the person on the, falling in front of the Tesla. It seems like a reasonable decision.
One of the things I say is how much does blank issue compare to medical malpractice, where people talk about wars in the Middle East, they talk about 9/11, but some vast amount of people are killed every year by medical mispractice.
It's third leading cause of death.
Yeah. And so how many actual situations will this Tesla AI issue hit where someone could potentially die? And how many situations, furthermore, where the human doesn't intervene at the second and say, no, we're not doing that?
I think one of the reasons we will not see your prediction of the future is because the left is going to plug their brains in some way or another and just blank out of reality. So I'm starting to see more and more on Instagram insanely well-made AI video. It's getting really crazy. So we're like a year away from, we already on ChatGPT, you can program video games. Very rudimentary. How long until you can actually say, code me a game like The Legend of Zelda? Right now we're at like Commodore 64 and Atari level games. How long until it's at NES, SNES, N64? It's going to be rapid exponential increase. I see many of these left and Gen Zers just being like, I don't need a house. I'm going to live in a bachelor apartment with 7 other guys, $50 a month. Sit down, go in VR, do whatever you got to do, and maybe Neuralink, whatever.
That society is not going to procreate.
Indeed, so there's no war.
So I still think we're going to have a war. I'm standing by the bet. Because the violence is ramping up and things like this tend to spool upwards, where I think we've hit critical tension. I hope you're correct. I hope that the left just gives up. But also the left has been perfectly willing to kill their entire civilization in exchange for not, yes.
And currently the left are the ones that are, not only are they ramping up, but they're the ones that are pushing forward the violent rhetoric.
Yes.
You're not hearing any of the leaders try to talk the regular people down. They've lionized Luigi Mangione and people like that. So I completely understand or completely agree with your point. It is the left that's kind of ramping all this stuff up, you know? But go ahead.
Oh, I was just in agreement. It's, I think, I mean, I'm going to keep comparing it to the French Revolution, where once you get to the end of it, you know what it is, but you know the people of this part of the journey, they hadn't realized what was going on. And it's the other thing is that even if there isn't a war in America, I think there has to be a war around the world where the tensions we talk out in America. I have a hobby. I watch documentaries from around the world, and you look at South Korea, you look at Australia, you look at France, you look at Canada, China. Every country in the world is talking about the same crises. Those crises being housing costs, not enough jobs, crisis in mating, crisis in meaning, crisis in just people lack of will to live. And it's constant around the world. And you see it the worst so even in places like China that are completely different civilizations. It's heartbreaking to see the stories that come out of China now.
Like what?
Oh, it's just insane. Where you hear like China's gone full totalitarian mode, and it would take me a while to explain what all of that entails. But there's a 2 million gap in the amount of cremations vis-a-vis the deaths accounted for. So 2 million more cremations for causes of death that are basically unmarked.
Whoa, what does that mean?
So from the Chinese records, so with deaths, cremations, they burn the body. They're burning 2 million more bodies than are statistically accredited for.
China
So then where are those
1.5
bodies?
billion anymore.
Are you suggesting that they're killing off their own people? They're mass executing people?
They did that before. They killed 40 million people within living memory. It was the bloodiest atrocity in history. And they're probably doing it to the Uyghurs. They're probably doing it to their own people. They were starving Shanghai for months because another Communist Party clique was there. They've gone full totalitarian. They teach warfare among the elementary school students. And this stuff sounds crazy, but this is what totalitarian regimes always do. And when Hitler and Stalin were killing people and Mao were killing people, we had no idea.
Wow.
Mm-hmm.
I check China more than I check America, and every single time I check China, it's worse.
Jesus.
Sounds kind of like whatever does happen, after the dust settles, it's going to be probably Catholic conservatives that are going to be left standing in the United States. And that's because of their high birth rates relative to any other faction. Or you could argue that some areas might be Muslim. But because there's more Catholics in the U.S. than Muslims, I'd estimate that if there is a great catastrophe, if this the fourth turning happens, and within the next 10 or 15 years there's a war or whatever, Catholics, I believe, are at like 2.3 fertility rate. I'm sorry to cut you off, but there's a sci-fi novel called Fitzpatrick's War, and I have basically made this book. It's so expensive you can't buy it because there were a few copies that it was published in the 90s, but it has a fascinating story of the future. It's set in the 25th century, and in its backstory, the world's population crashes from 11 billion to 1 billion over the course of the 21st century. And America has a multi-step, multi-decade civil war where the left basically devolves into inner city criminal organizations, and the right becomes taken up by these intentional communities of conservatives who move out to the countryside to avoid the city's degeneracy. Then what happens is that these rural people form a new nationality called the Yukons. The Yukons build the new American Republic on the ruins of the destroyed America. The Muslims populate Europe, the Chinese populate East Asia, and the population collapse occurs due to a combination of birth rate crash, genetically engineered diseases, war, and supply chain issues.
That sounds awesome.
Have you guys read or seen A Handmaid's Tale?
I have. It's a good book.
So I've not, I tried watching the show a little bit, but I didn't care. I didn't read it. But what I've heard a lot from feminists, and I'm not sure this accurately portrays the book, is that it's basically women are forced to have babies for their country. But my understanding is that the story is about a post-apocalyptic America and a collapsing birth rate and humans facing extinction.
So the book is really good. The TV show's not, which is sad. And it was written in the 90s, and it's about a world where due to some failing of industrial chemical processing, the vast majority of women are infertile. And so in order to solve the population crisis, religious conservatives launch a coup, and then they basically force women into sex slavery. And so that's the thesis where the main character, the handmaid, she is one of the polygamous wives of one of the ruling nobility of this state called Gilead. It's based in the suburbs of Boston.
So I was just thinking about that because I'm like, if humanity was facing extinction, I mean, what obviously, if the story is going to get into like these guys are corrupt and they're evil, I'm not talking about that. If society is facing extinction, would you not need to have women have babies?
You posit a trick question.
That's an honest question.
It's so you look at the
at that
events.
point, you wouldn't need to force anyone to have babies.
I disagree. Look at the show The Last of Us. Have you seen it?
Yeah.
Are you watching season 2?
No.
It's the apocalypse, and the main character. There's like a bunch of lesbians and gay people all over the place.
Well, that's
because it's a TV show.
That's because it's the
written by
message.
people
But this is
who
the
are-
worldview those people have.
Yeah.
That's why they hate A Handmaid's Tale, and that's why The Last of Us is like, in the apocalypse, you're not going to procreate for children.
They don't hate The Handmaid's Tale. They secretly love The Handmaid's Tale in the same way that they love 50 Shades of Grey.
The Catgirl Kulak take.
But it's true that like I can't say this is true, but it does seem likely that the reason that they're so obsessed with it is because they all secretly desire to be the handmaiden.
So looking at like behavioral sync and the rat utopia experiment, I'm sure you're familiar with.
Yes.
They couldn't correct those behaviors in the rats. I'm pretty sure that if you took like New York, the average New Yorker, and society collapsed, they would still not want to have kids. It's not going to change.
You said, as the pattern goes, when a society becomes wealthy, or I don't know what level of wealth that would be, people stop having children. Is the only solution for our country to just plummet into poverty? Is that the solution to bring the birth rate back up?
That's a good question. So if you look at the previous civilizational collapses, it's barbarians and religious people tend to be the ones who procreate. That was the fall of Rome. That was the fall of Islam. It's most empires. It's the whole hard men make soft times make soft men, which make bad times, and then the cycle restarts.
Interestingly, we've already built artificial womb incubators.
That's going to be a disaster. Kids need their mom. Like,
Yeah,
the cycle. I'm sorry to cut you off.
No. Hold on, because you are correct. But what I'm saying is, we've grown. I think they grew a lamb in a bag.
Yep.
Yeah, if society collapsed and fertility was collapsing, then you wouldn't need to take the country over and force women to do anything. They would just replace the women with bags.
It's not good, but it's true.
But then all the babies would be effed up.
Yeah.
But humans wouldn't be extinct.
I mean,
It's called an extra-uterine system. Wow, that's
Mary,
crazy.
they're already effed up. Serge is right.
I mean, look at the Romanian kids, where they did a program like that in Romania, and all of the kids just became completely just dysfunctional
There
as
you go.
adults.
There it is.
I mean, what's going to happen is that
Gen Z backs the use
Life-
of artificial wombs. Great.
Oh, great.
the psyoped ones. So life is a natural equilibrium, and one of the things modern people struggle with is the universe is a responsive system, so that when something goes bad, the public moves in another direction. And so the people who have children, their children will furthermore have children, and it'll create cultural norms where the culture is a responsive system that will adjust as things get bad.
So you think it's just a problem that over time solves itself, and we don't need to plummet into poverty for this?
The world's ended 20 times before in history. The story keeps going.
Yeah.
Okay. So poverty isn't the solution. It's just time.
We could avoid poverty if we played our cards well, because if you have a free market economy and you have property rights, you're probably not going to be poor. Poverty is mostly an outgrowth of certain economic incentive structures. The thing at the fall of Rome as well is that after Rome fell, the average height and quality of life for the average person outside Italy went up because Rome was a predatory system that took from the empire to feed Italy.
Thanks for checking out this clip from Timcast IRL. Make sure to watch the show live Monday through Friday at 8 p.m. Subscribe to this channel, and we will see you all there.